is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 390, special show tonight because we have the amazing Maggie Guterl back on the show. Lots to chat about, lots to catch up on. She trained for and prepared for the Barkley Marathons, unfortunately due to an injury, which we'll chat about on the show tonight. She had to withdraw, but luckily she was still there. She was still present because she was the crew member for John Kelly during his experience. So I kind of want to talk with Maggie about what it's like to train for such a big event. She's now done it a couple of times, and obviously the Barkley Marathons is such a big ordeal. But then to also transition that into crewing and what it takes to crew at that event. In addition to talking about like Hardrock and just life in general, we'll probably chat on Bonobo, dog farts.
A very niche music commonality that we found we had.
We have to talk about it. So we have a very shun faux planned ahead. Sit back, relax, everyone. Ginger Runner Live, episode 390 begins now.
Ginger Runner.
Yay! What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 390. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Tuesdays to spend a little bit of it with us. Big show tonight. Wonderful guest. Maggie Guterl is joining us to chat all about training for the Barkley Marathons. Unfortunately, due to an injury, she had to pull out at the last minute. It was like a last-minute injury. We'll chat with her about what happened and how it all went down. But she was still going, and she was planning on crewing for John Kelly, which she did. So we're going to find out what it takes to crew at the Barkley Marathons, what it takes to train for this event, what her plans are with this event in the future, if she can get in, all that good stuff. So we always like to talk about the Barkley Marathons. Obviously, we have a very close connection with the event through the movie and everything like that. So it'll be a fun show tonight, chatting with Maggie. But it's not just Maggie, who we'll introduce here in just a second. We also have the incredible Kim.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
It's little Kim Newberry.
Very few people are going to get that reference.
10 people who know that reference are sitting there going, oh, that's brilliant.
And none of them are here right now.
None of them are here.
So nobody thinks it's brilliant except you and I.
Yep. How are you?
Doing well. Hi, everyone. Kim Newberry here. As always, if you're new, welcome. We are live, so pop in the chat room and say hello. And if you have a question for our wonderful guest, Maggie, please ask them there.
Of course, at the top of every Ginger Runner Live, we like to recognize the crew that makes this happen. That is the GR crew. Thank you so much, GR crew members, for continuing to support us. And we love doing these live shows. We do daily live shows now, and they get to participate in those. Those are super, super fun. But if you would like to join the GR crew and become a member of this community, global running community, you can go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. All tier levels get amazing perks on the back end. Tonight, we have an after show with Maggie, and all GR crew members get access to that after show and all the archived after shows as well. So if you would like to help support us, head on over there. Two individuals in particular at that top tier we like to recognize as well. Rick Bjarnason out of British Columbia. He's an ultra runner himself. And Brian Sands, longtime supporter, wonderful human being, ultra runner, training for some seriously huge events right now. So shout out to those two individuals. We appreciate them very much. Now, without further ado, we're going to get right into the show because our guest's time is quite valuable, obviously. And she is also in a room that we heard before the show.
It's filled with something.
It's filled with something. Maggie, do you mind telling us what the room is filled with?
Yeah, Titus has some belly problems today, and it's
putting it, I can imagine politely.
Titus is my dog, in case anyone doesn't know.
I guess that's probably good to clear up there too.
I'm picturing like the 500 people that watch this and go,
like, is that her partner?
Who's Titus? Is that the partner? Stomach problems? Man, I hope he gets better.
Titus.
But now we find out it's your dog. Beautiful Titus.
That's right. He's lumpy now. He's older and he's kind of lumpy, but he's beautiful.
I mean, we have an older lumpy dog also.
He's right down here.
Yeah.
And he also has a fun stomach today. I have a feeling we'll probably be chatting about Titus more throughout the show, not just because he's an awesome dog and a wonderful dog, and we are obviously all dog people here. But because I think he has a part of the story in sort of what you're going to be sharing in your journey to the Barkley Marathons this year. But I do just want to start off, Maggie, with catching up with how you've been doing and how training has been going over the last year and what life has been like for you in Colorado and just kind of a quick little catch up. How you been?
Good. Yeah. I mean, I think we had like another kind of mild winter here in Colorado. So
right.
I just the you kind of confined to roads and some of the trails before they freeze thaw and things like that. So it's pretty much, I don't know, my third winter training here. Uh, so things are good. We went home for home is, well, I'm from Pennsylvania, Ryan and I, and we drove home from Colorado so that we could
Oh,
take Titus. And we went for 3 weeks to visit family over the holidays. So that was cool. But we missed all the snow. And I'm pretty sure that since we've moved here, they've had three crappy winters. I guess two crappy winters. The winter before we got here, they had like an epic winter. It was the year they canceled Hardrock because the snow is still way too much in the high country
right.
mid-July. And then we moved here, and I'm pretty sure I cursed the snowfall here in Durango. So I'm really sorry. We got some decent storms while we were in Pennsylvania in December. So
I
I don't
didn't
know.
realize that we found so you're the reason that Colorado hasn't been getting a lot of snow. I didn't, it's Maggie this whole time.
We got a foot. We got a foot the week I was gone in Tennessee too.
So all you need to do is
you just have to leave.
Yeah, you just have to take trips, more
I'm
trips.
gonna go to Arizona or maybe Florida for the summer or the winter.
I do feel like there was like a stat this year that Seattle, so where we are, we got snow like sooner and a lot more than places like Denver this year.
The stats have been weird up here in the Northwest. Yeah, compared especially to Colorado, like you and other people that we've had on the show from Colorado and have talked to have mentioned just how little snow that there's been for, proper skiing and regular sort of consistent skiing and snow travel and stuff like that. It's been kind of a surprise, huh, for locals?
I guess, yeah. I mean, this is my first few winters experiencing it. I think the good thing is though the snowpack is pretty like up high, like above 12,000 feet or whatever, 11, I don't know. Is pretty good. So they got like a lot more storms and a lot more actual snow. So that's
Mm.
good overall for stuff. At least we had like a monsoon season, which is like, I don't know, you guys, it's all the time, but like Colorado was like very short monsoon season that hasn't really existed, and it did this year, so that was good. But yeah, I guess it's pretty crazy. And the East Coast has been getting crazy storms. It snowed the day after I left Tennessee in like, after it was like 60s and 70s, like earlier the week prior. So
Yeah, a
who
part of
knew?
me imagines Laz is like, damn it. Just a couple days off for that extra little 6 inches snow goodness in Frozen Head. I do want to. I remember seeing the pictures and stuff over the holidays of the road trip that you, Ryan, and Titus took, and it looked both adventurous and crazy and awesome and fun and also not fun all at the same time. Like it felt like it was this great. Wow, we did the thing and we will never do it again. Are you big on road trips, or was that the last stand?
I like road trips. Ryan hates it. He said every second is miserable, apparently. Even though he got to go to Bentonville and ride mountain bikes, and he rode bikes at home with some of his mountain bike friends with his high altitude lungs down at sea level. So I think he had fun, but whatever.
We love a good road trip, but there's always some frayed edges by the end, right? Like there's always.
Someone always has belly problems.
And in a car of three athletes, let's be honest, Titus is an athlete as well. You never know who it's going to be. I do want to start digging into some Barkley talk because that's sort of obviously the most relevant, most timely part of the conversation right now. Did you want to get to some live questions first?
Oh, yeah. There was just a question/comment from Angela in the chat room. And Angela says, as a Tailwind ambassador, so I did want to kind of maybe just touch on Tailwind and kind of what you're doing for them as well. Angela says, as a Tailwind ambassador, I'd like to know how much Tailwind Maggie managed to get on the plane, and did you get stopped at security? And I feel like this is always like a hot topic, like on Twitter around races.
Yeah.
People are like, can I take like my Tailwind and my little baggies on the plane, or is it going to get taken away?
Yeah, I think, okay, so I work for Tailwind and I run the ambassador team, but I've also, I unofficially add myself as an athlete to the, counts. But I shipped Tailwind to John Kelly's parents for Harvey, Courtney, John Kelly, who's been using it, and Katie Wright, who's an ambassador from New Zealand.
Right.
And so I didn't have to bring any on the plane. You can check it. If you bring a large bag, I think they're going to confiscate it. pretty sure you can bring the individual packets on the plane, but then the baggies, if you just unmarked baggies, like that's questionable. They may or may not take it. And that's my best answer. So Katie Wright was flying back to New Zealand and she got stopped because at the very bottom of their suitcase, she had a flask that just had the powder in it. So they had to take everything out
Oh.
and like
Oh,
search it because it was like shady looking. So international flights might be even weirder, especially when it's like in an unmarked thing.
Yeah.
I remember traveling with it in, I get these like little custom Ziplocs that are like the perfect size that you can compact exactly one serving of Tailwind in. And I would travel with those. And I remember one trip, them getting taken because I was the idiot that pre-packed them in the Ziploc rather than just leave them in the prepackaged containers. And it's like, it was my fault, 100% my fault. But yeah, an indistinguishable powder that's in a non-prepackaged package certainly looks suspicious to anyone. Even if you tell them like it's 200 calories exactly for a run, they're like,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, okay.
I feel like it depends what airport you go through too. I'm pretty sure like we're headquartered in Durango. I think the TSA there knows Tailwind by now.
Oh, you're
No matter-
right. Are you a Tailwind? Yeah, I can tell. It's a Tailwind. Yeah. Do you work for them?
Yeah.
So digging into Barkley. So you've obviously been there before. We've known each other for a number of years, and I remember those early days for you, just like getting into it and really wanted to be a part of it and everything like that. It was years ago. This year, what was your like coming off of the last couple of years of the pandemic? Obviously, training for the Barkley is consuming, probably to put it lightly. I'm curious, what was your approach to Barkley this year going into this one, like looking back at last year? Was it a full, I am all in, I need to put in the time, the effort, the energy to it? Or was it sort of a, maybe I'll get in, maybe I won't? Kind of what was your approach to it this year?
Yeah. So Laz has a wait list of like 50 people among the 40 that he chooses. There's international people that have rolled over for the last 2 years because 2020 was canceled. 2021 was a pretty much a local Barkley, and it was a much smaller too. I don't remember how many people ended up starting, but yeah, so there was a very limited spots left over for US runners this year. And so I ended up on the wait list kind of at 18, which is pretty unprecedented to reach that number. Typically it's 7 or 8 people get in from the wait list. He said one time 23 people got in. I don't know if that was last year because there was a lot of upset last year too. I don't
Right.
really and then yeah, so I mean, but I trained as if I was going to get in because you have to. And I mean, I kind of wish I was at like 40 something or like 1 so that would help.
So you
Yeah.
just knew, right?
Yeah, but then I was like, part of me was like, all right, well, maybe I will concentrate on speed more because I do so much vert. I aim for like 250,000 feet of vert in like the 3 months like leading up to it.
Wow.
And like, I mean, that's like, I don't know, kind of like Gary's always thrown out there and John Kelly, and it's just kind of like a arbitrary number. But you know, I get pretty close to it just with the plan that I usually go with. And then I just was like, you know, I feel like kind of slow maybe since I've been doing this kind of really steep vert and even all summer, just naturally in the mountains, like my legs are used to that. Maybe I will add more speed because I feel like I'm slower. So I focused a lot more on speed
Mm.
than vert. And still, like, you know, I did instead of like 5,000 feet day after day after day, I would, you know, do like a couple days like that and then a big vert day on the weekend and then try and do like speed work and just, you know, there's roads available to me and I just use them. So I don't know if that would have worked out or not, but I felt pretty good going into it.
Yeah, like compared to years previous, and you know what sort of shape is required to be there. You've obviously gotten out on the course, and you know what it requires. How did you feel? Like, did you feel? The reason I ask is because you talk to guys like Gary or John Kelly or Jared Campbell or anyone who's had a finish or close to a finish, and they talk about the level of fitness that is required to even get to that fifth loop is just on another level. So when you've now approached it this year, did you feel like I'm all in, like my body is there and ready to go? Or was it a bit of an experiment just to like, let's see if
Um,
training can be different?
I mean, I feel like whenever I'm really fit, I don't know it until like, oh yeah, I was really fit then back then.
Oh,
So, like I always doubt myself, like maybe I shouldn't, but I was like, oh, is this right? Like, and I don't know what it takes to get to a fifth loop. Like, and Gary had been there like pretty straight off. Like he went to like what loop 5 right away or 4, his first try.
yeah,
Like
it's 5.
yeah. So like he knows. And like honestly, I don't know if it's necessarily the level of fitness to get to 5. That's something
Mm,
else. I think it's the level of fitness to get you through 4 or something, or maybe even 2 4. And then beyond that, it's like keeping your head in it and being able to navigate after the fatigue sets in. This is all just me observing what
sure.
people have done getting to the 4th loop. Like
Yeah.
it seems like obviously the people who can make it physically to the 4th loop, um, their downfall is usually some crazy navigation thing or something like that. It's not because they are not fit enough and suddenly like they're fatigued.
It's, the one thing is we're huge Maggie fans. That's no secret. We talk about you
All the
often,
time.
all the time. There's probably not a day that goes by that we don't talk about Maggie. That's not true. I don't want you to feel creeped out.
Maggie's just gonna like laptop just in
Yeah.
case just
Oh, I thought you were gonna say she's gonna slowly just disappear into the fart club below. Not hers, Titus's. But one thing that we often talk about is, we believe in you, Maggie, and we are huge fans because we think Maggie could be one of the first, or if not the first female to finish the Barkley. We saw this year with Jasmine getting the fun run in first in
Yeah.
over a decade, right? Is it 10
Yeah, it
years?
was 2013, 9
So
years.
9
9
years.
years.
Yeah, that's right. Which is amazing. Do you go into it with that mindset, or particularly with training? So before the injury, do you go into it with the mindset of like, I am going to finish 5 loops, or is it I'm going to get to that fun run, or I'm going to get that second loop? Like what does someone like Maggie Guterl approach something like this with?
I mean, you always have to think 5 loops, and I was like that, thinking that before. I mean, I do know now how important it is to get to a fun run because I think that if I can get there, then I'll know if I have what it takes. But I've
Uh,
also already attempted this a bunch of times. So like, and you know what I mean? They have this, the guys all have this formula of what you need to do to be a finisher. And I don't know. I went to Rufa Jared's race in Salt Lake City, and I was talking about the loop times that they say you must run, and I was saying, well, maybe it's easier. Maybe it would be maybe a female because of the way we pace. It would be more even paced, whereas Gary and John do these really fast first laps, and then they just gradually slow.
right.
Um, but like Jared said, yeah, until it's done, like that they'll just say that, but then someone goes and does it. And like, but Jasmine checked off one of the boxes already. Like your first time you get a fun run, you're a very good candidate to finish the Barkley. And that was our first time. And I think her and Courtney are phenomenal athletes. I think either one of them can physically do the like finish 5 loops. Jasmine's just an amazing navigator, and like to do that by herself, she wasn't with anyone really. I mean, I think she was with Guillaume for a bit, and then she was with a Swedish guy, Tomas, that had not been there either.
Yeah.
She did that on her own. So I mean, now that she knows it, I think she could be like a little faster, um, but enough to get to the 5th loop. And so I mean, yeah, it would be cool to like, I just think that I have some weaknesses that I need to work on, like navigation, because I think I can physically be ready to do that. I can control that. I can work on navigation, weather you can't control. So,
Yeah.
but she's an excellent navigator, I think. So,
Yeah, what was cool about this, and what my next question for you is, she got to see it both directions, right? Like she got to see the course in both directions, which I can only imagine is a huge confidence booster in another attempt to be able to go, oh yeah, I have seen it counterclockwise or whichever direction is opposite. Have you been able to see it in both directions? Like, is that something that you have in your tool chest?
Yeah, twice he did the washing machine thing instead of
Yep.
the 2 loops clockwise. So thankfully, even though I've never actually made it, I've made it 2 loops twice, but both times over time. But I've gotten to see the reverse direction. Um, I know the counterclockwise direction is a bit trickier for navigation, and that'll be kind of new for me. Yeah, so one of the things coming into camp you really have to nail. So it's important to get it right.
And also making sure you hold on to your pages and they don't get blown away. Poor Guillaume. Poor Guillaume. I
Easy.
I do want to talk about what happened this year. So you were on the wait list at 18. You got moved up. You got the invite. When did that invite happen in your training? And then what happened?
Yeah, so I fell on the 14th of February walking Titus, but it was not his fault. Ryan had him on the leash. I just fell. I'm an idiot. But I had the little poop bag in my hand, and Ryan said it was like a cartoon. The poop bag went in the air, and my feet literally went over my head, and I landed square on like the right side of my sacrum.
Oh,
And yeah, I lay there for a long while, and I got up, and I'm like, all right, it'll hurt for a few days. It'll be fine. And then I like ended up like pushing through like a 20-mile run on that Saturday with 6,000 feet. And it was then went for trying to like did a speed workout the Monday after, and it was like worse. And I was like, all right, so maybe if I rest. And then it was just like this cycle of, oh my God. And like, cause my name is every day, the wait list would move like a person. And I was at 7th on the wait list at that point.
wow.
And that was the 14th. And I got my name was finally called on the Tuesday before, was it the Tuesday before I left? I left on the 5th. So the 1st, I think my name got called.
Wow.
But Laz said, he's like, you were always probably going to get in because I knew you were going to be here. Cause I'd made John was like, would you like to crew? And
Yeah.
if you don't get in, and then if I got in, his cousin could easily just come crew. He's local. So Laz knew I was going to be there, and he was like, any last minute drop, like Johan tested positive for COVID. He's like, you would have been lining up anyway. And I was like, yeah. So, I mean, I was just hoping my name wouldn't get called because like, you can't defer if you're on the wait list. So like,
Right.
now it's up to Laz again next year. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think he likes me as a person, but whether he wants me in the race or not is another story.
It's like, I know that it's not, sensitive isn't the right word, but it is a precarious list of people, right? Like they want to give some people chances that maybe haven't tried. They want to be able to bring in virgins, but they also want to bring in people who have potential to actually get it done. And some people who don't have any potential, but they just want to bring in for fun. But I also know that you have dedicated a lot of your life to this event. We have lots of friends that have dedicated a lot of their lives to this event. So what did that emotionally feel like for you when you knew that it wasn't going to be towing the gate, like being able to start, but it was going to be a crewing situation?
It was a super stressful week leading up to that, and I actually used Keith Dunn as my like therapist because I was like, what do I do? Because like no one knows what Laz is thinking, but like he's been around long enough to help give me some advice. And like, I talked to John Kelly, and I think they both agreed kind of what I was thinking, that it's better for me to just pass and tell him what happened than try to line up and show up kind of wrecked and like maybe limp around a loop and then maybe mess myself up more.
Yeah.
And then risk like ever having another chance. Cause like that would have been my 4th time lining up, and I do maybe a little more loop. Like, why would he give me another chance? So, and like there's people behind me that could have run, and luckily they did. It went pretty far past me. Actually, I think they got to 30 on the wait list because
Wow.
I mean, it's hard for people too to get off that fast, like a week before, and like get PTO and family stuff and things like that. So they went pretty deep in the wait list.
I obviously we have lots of questions to continue the conversation around transitioning from starting the race to crewing, because you did crew for John Kelly, which is a pretty cool thing. Obviously, you guys are very good friends. But we are live with Maggie Guterl, and if you have questions for Maggie about the Barkley or crewing or any of that kind of stuff, drop them into the chat. Kim's pulling them aside. Kim, you've already got some. What do we got?
Yeah, so there's a couple questions that are kind of course related. So if it's things that you can't answer or what are, that are off the table, just say so. That's totally cool. Question from Ian in the chat. Ian says, Maggie, did Laz give an explanation for holding the race so early this year?
No, he didn't. I don't think anyone asked him because I don't think we would get a straight answer. It was International Women's Day, so we wonder if that was of significance. Maybe he had like something to do, that he wanted to skip Barkley over.
Yeah.
It's always something to do with his schedule. I think last year it was because he was finishing that like long walk thing. He wanted to do his TransCon that one year. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know what it's going to be. And even if you asked him and you knew the answer wouldn't probably be the correct answer.
Yeah.
No.
It would be a Laz answer.
Question from Jean in the chat room. They asked, Maggie, how similar is the course year to year?
Some years it's really similar and he'll do tweaks, and then every few years there'll be major changes. He just does that to spice it up. He's got like a system. He said I don't know how many few years he said he would do a huge overhaul of the course or something.
Oh yeah.
And then this question comes from our Discord server from Deb Runs Far. Deb says, question for Maggie. I'm curious on how a sadistic event said with awe, like the Barkley, compares to something like Cocodona 250. And a side note, Deb says, Maggie, you are an incredible athlete and an inspiration to follow.
Oh, thanks. That's funny. So when last year when I signed up for Cocodona, I know it was Jamil's like dream kind of to put this race together, and I told him like, all right, if Barkley doesn't work out, I hate to have like, oh, if it doesn't work out I'll do this, but like, I know you do all this training and then things happen. And so we didn't finish 2 loops. We did it over time. So I told Jamil, I was like, I'd like to run Cocodona. This sounds super easy because I know when it starts, I know where I'm going, I know when it ends or when I get to the finish line. And so like I was super relaxed because like it's just this adventure and you just kind of get from A to B, like aid station to aid station. It was obviously way harder than I ever expected, but you kind of just like can never know really what you're in for.
Right.
So hot. I mean, every day just felt like, even if it was like 75, it just felt like my body was cooking from the inside. But it was so pretty. Like, I mean, I just have fond memories. It was really cool. Like all the friends that came together to help pace me, and my friends Amy and David, who I met because they're actually Tailwind Trailblazers. They're on our ambassador team, and they like volunteered to like help me, and so that was cool. It was like a really good time.
Awesome. I kind of want to dig in on what it's like to crew this event, because we've done it a couple of times, and it's funny how unlike other events it is because of the long durations between. So you are crewing for John Kelly. He's finished it multiple times, but he's also traveling from the UK for this trip, and obviously he's done it many times before, but he hasn't done this version of it at this time of year. Transitioning your mindset from starting to crewing, how did you approach it? Is it very much a hands-off sort of thing? Is it something you're familiar with because you've seen John do this before? What are sort of the criteria that you had to switch into crewing someone like John Kelly?
Well, John's a very detail-oriented guy. He's like a data scientist. So, I mean, there were spreadsheets. So what I had to do was pretty straightforward. I had to like, it's good to have knowledge of the race just to be like, hey, maybe try these. Like I gave him Gore-Tex gloves once or something like, or like, I don't know. He's hard to kind of figure out what foods he wants. Like I offered some of what he would like and then kind of threw in things I'd like and rejected all this, but just kind of coming up with creative foods in the interloopal and then making sure everything was in his pack how he wanted it, where it was, and like I don't know if you experience this too, but like, okay, you stay in one place and like for 8 to 14 hours or whatever, I don't know. I felt like there was no downtime because I was just getting ready for the next loop. And then his parents lived down the way. So I actually left camp a bunch to go wash and dry his clothes after that one night. And yeah, I mean, it just seemed really like a lot. And then you would like organize the van and get ready for next time. And yeah, I mean, it was crewing's a lot of work. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've crewed, but I've never crewed Barkley. And it seems even more stressful for someone like John, where there's potential for 5 loops,
Right.
and he wants the transitions. Like, his first transition he gave me was, like, under 2 minutes, and I was like, "Oh my god, we can't do any." He's like, "The deciding time for me getting back out on the loop is how fast lads can count my pages." I was like, "Oh, I know that's pretty slow." Luckily, he could tell us things and talk about stuff, but um, yeah, so, and then obviously things get derailed. He came back pretty hypothermic after the second loop after in the rain. I'm glad he did like a whole change and actually, I should have forced him to get in the shower because, they have really nice bathrooms there and they're heated. But, you know, think a shower, like just running hot water under your body. I should have known that. I should have like told him to do that, but I don't know.
It's funny because you described it kind of how I remember it. It's still a foggy memory for us because it takes place over the course of a weekend, like many days. So you're thinking like, oh, you're going to remember all these moments, but the reality is now 5-6 years later, it is a bit of a fog.
Yeah.
And it is a hurry up. You do a lot of things when they're in there, and it's like all attention focused on this athlete. The second they leave, then you're like cleaning up, preparing for the next one, planning it all out. And even though you have 8 to 10 hours before you see them again, it's still
Like there's not enough time to really do anything.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's
Or,
almost
like you feel
half
like
a
you're
day.
in a
But
rush if you need to go get food or try and have a nap. It's
do I
like, oh,
have
I only
time?
have this much time.
Do I
Yeah.
have time to go to the gas station to get sushi? Like maybe. Who knows? Did you
Well,
go ahead?
The first loop, Kevin and I went up to the tower and we're like, we'll go to the tower every loop. And so we started to realize, like, oh my God, like it's hard to gauge because when he makes the little changes, like, when people get to the tower, but
Right.
is it going to be harder? Is it going to be faster? Like, so for something made us run. And so that last Jeep road up to the tower, we ran and we saw Courtney and John pop up at the tower and just in time. And we're like, oh my gosh, we almost missed them. And then,
Wow.
they zoomed on down Rapjaw and we were like, all right, let's go back to camp and see if we go. And then we were thinking, and then overnight we're like, oh, we'll go to the tower. It's pouring rain. The worst rain's supposed to be from like 10 to 2 or midnight at 2 to I don't know. And I was like, wait a minute. We're going to be anything could happen. There could be like a 2-hour range when they possibly make it. And then we're going to be standing there in the rain. And then we're not going to sleep because we're going to have to run back down. And so Kevin did agree to a nap as well. Like, he is obviously a little more invested in Courtney. It's his wife. He would like to see if she's okay and everything. And I know
Right.
John's.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to go. He finally was like, I should sleep too. So we slept and it was like pouring rain. And then it was good because actually Courtney ended up coming back.
Right.
I don't think she made it to the tower. I think they popped out on that Jeep road. So she would have never have climbed up to the main tower. So that was good because Kevin would have been standing out there a while.
Yeah.
Which we have done. We've stood out in the middle of nowhere for
8 hours.
8 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it works on the first loop and then that's it. If it's in the light.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. If it's in
Yeah.
the daylight. Yeah, you got great live questions.
Yeah. Question from Ian. Ian asked, are there any takeaways from crewing John that you think will be helpful for you on your next Barkley attempt?
Yeah, I mean, he's really efficient. And I think, normally I was like, oh, I'll just run back to the camp. It's fine. But I think maybe for the first at least 2 transitions, just to have everything at the gate and have packs, just switch packs. Like if I have to change, yeah, guys can change in front of the gate, but like, not about that. And so, yeah, I'll have to run to the bathhouses. But I mean, that's only, I guess, if it's pouring rain or something like that. But he really, like, if John's worried about mere minutes in transition, like I should be too because I'm not that fast.
Interesting. Yeah, like looking at what his experience is and what he's worried about. And yeah, like, was there anything that you realized maybe you don't have to worry about? Like, was there anything that clearly isn't on John's radar, or like the experience of seeing him sort of navigate those things that you were able to go, oh wow, I worry about this one thing, and that's like, why even bother? Was there anything like that that you were able to take away, like a benefit?
Well, honestly, I think so. John's been having stomach problems in a lot of his long efforts in the UK, and I told him I was like, you should try Tailwind. I'm like, I've had the same issues, and it's like if something like Barkley, 50% of your calories comes from Tailwind, it's just gonna be much easier to get in all those calories. And so he's been using it, and like I used Tailwind before I worked for them, but like it just confirms that I think for a mountain 100 or something like Barkley that's multi-day. I mean, I've used it in bigs, which isn't as much elevation gain and the pace isn't as crazy. Um, but I mean, he would do some like random foods at the beginning, but then eventually all he could do was Tailwind. And I've never heard of this. I think it's a UK thing. It's called Supernatural, but they look like those big baby food packets.
Mm.
Mm.
I think it's some kind of endurance thing. There was like oat, banana, maple syrup type flavor. I don't know. But those are only things that were working for him. Um, Especially when it was raining and it was like dark and hard to like get food out and stuff. So I feel like my nutrition's like on point because I think next year, what I was going to use this year was the um, Tailwind. And for me, it's the Endurance Tap, the
Yeah.
Gary Robbins maple syrup. Um, because that's just like another shot of like 100 calories and stuff. And then, you know, so I feel like, nutrition is something I have dialed for something like that at least. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, you have so much experience with longer events and dealing with this as well. You know, like John Kelly obviously has a lot of experience as well. We've had him on the
Yeah.
show after some of these longer UK
Yeah.
efforts, and he's talked to us specifically about the food stuff. And we were emailing with John today, and we'll hopefully have him on the show in the next couple of weeks. We can chat more in exactly what sort of went wrong, or perhaps it's something that has been happening more regularly for him. But I know that he's trying to dial that in and figure it out as well. I do kind of want to continue the conversation about you, Maggie, and how maybe you were able to leave this Barkley experience in and use it to your advantage as you start to prepare for other events that you are doing this year. One in particular, quite well known on this show and amongst our audience, is Hardrock, the Hardrock 100.
Haven't heard of it.
Have you not?
Hmm.
We should go back and watch the shows that you were on where we talked about it. Obviously, a huge mountain. 100-miler, kind of in your backyard ish. How are you taking what you experienced at Barkley this year, training for Barkley this year, and preparing for that? Because clearly that's a big event, and we're so excited to see you compete there.
Yeah, this is actually an event that you could pivot to that's really similar to Barkley, so it'll work out, I hope. And I mean, to me, this is harder to get into than Barkley. I mean, Barkley is subjective to whatever allows. I mean, for some people it's easy, some people it's hard. I don't know who knows. But this is a lottery, and you have like barely, I don't know what the odds are. And the last two lotteries since I've lived here have been canceled. So this
Right.
is my first in the lottery while I lived here, which is awesome. And my Barkley friends Courtney and John Kelly get to join me. So well, they'll be way ahead of me, but so it's going to be fun. I mean, Barkley people do pretty well there. Jared Campbell's won it before. And it's beautiful. I mean, I'm so lucky to live here. I can't wait till the snow melts to get up high. My really good friend Megan Hicks is in. She is like on the Hardrock board. I mean, she's run it so many times. So I have like a really good Hardrock mentor. We can look at the course together. I'm excited to train with her. I have Howie's my good friend who lives in Silverton.
Yeah.
He's run it 10 times. So, he'll be out there shooting for he's creating like a Hardrock book one day. So, I mean, I'm just really excited. My goal is just to finish the race because, I mean, I want to do well. Like, we'll see. But the main goal is like finish the race because it's a hard race. Like I have not done well at a mountain like high altitude 100. Even like High Lonesome was a disaster for me. I don't know. Like I developed like asthma after 2019, like from bronchitis, I think, or I don't know what it was, but like it's been a problem. So um, I'll do everything I can to keep that in check, and
Right.
I just get off the never list so that maybe if I ever want to run it again, I can get in or something. Maybe fine tune that.
The bronchitis, I didn't realize that was something that was sort of residual from 2019, or at least you're still feeling the effects of that. And how has that been to adjust to? Are you having to take like an inhaler or any of
Yeah,
that kind of stuff to deal with it at high altitudes?
yeah. So in 2019, like, and I'm pretty sure COVID was not here in Durango in December of 2019. I
Right.
mean, it was also a pretty textbook bronchitis. It was not like the COVID cough or anything. Um, I got bronchitis, and then I don't know. I've been to like a bunch of doctors, and like a lung doctor told me it's probably not bronchitis. That I probably had RSV, which is a like a virus kids get. And I was like, I'm never around kids. And then I realized our coworker's daughter had RSV. And so that's probably when it was like this time period between December and right before March when every COVID happened, that everyone in the office was just constantly in a cycle of being sick. We were in this tiny office. And so it probably was an underlying thing
Mm.
and just like flared up. But it's crazy because like I've mentioned it on social media a couple times. I don't like talk about it all the time, but
Yeah.
there's so many people deal with it. Like I didn't realize how many runners like have to deal with it. But yeah, I used a long-term inhaler, a short-term inhaler. I saw UTMB banned inhalers, so they can go whatever. Probably never run it. Well, you can't run your race and not do an inhaler, so whatever. There's other races to run.
Uh, you're not the only one that we've had on the show that's talked about it, or friends that we have that also have to deal with an inhaler because of some sort of like bronchial issue or residual, specifically at high altitude. Like we talk to people often who it's fine at sea level, it's fine in moist environments. It's when you start getting into that higher elevation or drier climates, specifically like up there, that they have to use this, and they know it. Like they've had to do it for years, and it's one of those things that it's just routine for them. If they race at high altitude or they train at high altitude, they have to use this thing. So I did not realize that you were having to do that. And for something like Hardrock, is that a concern? Like, is that something you're like, oh shoot, what the hell am I going to do? Or do you have that access to train that it's not going to be such a thing to worry about?
I'm definitely worried about it. I think it's hard to simulate. You can simulate an effort for only so many hours, but it seems to
Mm.
just be the prolonged, um, you know, I was thinking of following up with my doctor to be like, hey, it's funny here too. Like you could tell them like, oh, when I'm running up this hill at 12,000 feet, I cough a lot. And they'll be like, well, don't do that. But they don't say that here because like everyone does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so if I tell them I'm in Hardrock, like people know what that race is, even if they're not a runner. So they might actually take me seriously. And, um, I did run into a guy in Chicago Basin when I was camping with Megan and our friend Esther. And she said, or the guy said I don't know how we started talking about it, but he said that, and I don't know if I'm like ready to get on board with this because I like actual medicine, but he said that he saw a naturopath, and that they cut out gluten and some other foods and whatever, and he doesn't use inhalers anymore. So I was like, hmm. So I don't know, but how do you get there? It's like a lot of experimentation and stuff, and like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking to
That's
two
a whole other.
doctors.
Yeah.
We're two doctors. We're
Yeah,
scientists. We know everything.
me too.
Did Gus
Hey,
did,
internet, chime in on what
just do your own
natural
research.
remedy.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
What foods can I cut out that will cure my asthma?
I mean, I've been looking at some things recently. Just wow, that was a setup for like. No, I've been doing my own research recently.
Were you
All
also talking to the guy who said,
yeah, actually, he wasn't even a naturopath. I think he just called himself like
the
a
guy?
warlock. It was strange, but it was one of those. It was me kind of coming to the conclusion like we are always experimenting, And whether that's with fitness and like, how do I schedule in my workouts, or what workouts work best for me, or my mileage each week, or nutrition, talking about what nutrition works for a particular individual at a specific event, at a specific altitude. Like, we're always kind of experimenting. And the sport is really just a constant attempt at experimenting with longer distance, shorter distance, different nutrition. So, you know, obviously you're kind of you mentioned it. Like, how do you even figure that out other than experimenting? And how long does that take? And then if it does result in a result, is that an accurate result, or is it just like a placebo result or something? Keep us posted. Like, I'm actually super curious if this is one of those things that inhibits you or is hard to sort of overcome at altitude or for you training, or if it's something that you managed to grasp and are able to train through. And I mean, we can't wait to see it at Hardrock. You're going to absolutely crush it.
They did say, which I wasn't worried about it at first, but they did say it was temporary. It'll probably go away in a year, and it's been more than a year.
Longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's frustrating. Yeah. So like the test to do these things, there's like a lung test. It's super expensive. Anyway, I don't know. So I just wanted people to know why I wasn't being more proactive. It's really proactive.
We have a very understanding.
Half of this, they're like, just take the drugs. We don't need to know why.
Right. Our audience is very understanding. They will follow along no matter what, and they will also be quite curious. We have a very curious audience. They'll want to know how this works out, what ends up happening. Our dog just like filled our room with what I'm imagining Titus
belly problem.
A bit of a belly problem. But this does sort of make me want to transition the conversation here as we wrap up our main show. We do have maybe one question that we can get to before the end of the show. But we do have a something that we're a fan of in common. We're both pretty big fans of a specific musical artist named Bonobo. That is an artist that when Kim and I often talk about Bonobo, we've been to Bonobo live, and like we own many of his albums and records and stuff. When I saw you post, it's a kind of avant-garde artist that no one really knows here in the States, or it's very unknown, I guess. He's very unknown. But when you posted about it, you posted his new album recently. I was like, oh my God, Maggie Guterl likes Bonobo.
I think we both like said it to each other.
Kind of freaked out.
Did you hear Maggie's story?
How did you find, like, what a stupid question. How did you find him?
Well, I was a junior in college living with 3 friends, and my friend Leah liked Bonobo, and I heard this album, and it was Animal Magic, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And I've liked them ever since. And that, I'll give away my age, but was in 2001 or 2 or something, like. So I've liked them pretty consistent. I mean, they haven't put out an album that I'm like, I'm not really that into it. Yeah, I did know you guys liked it, because I remember, I think Kim posted that you guys were at a concert like years ago when concerts were like more of a thing. And I was like, oh, and I think I told Kim, I was like, oh, I love Bonobo. And she's like, oh, that's so random. And yeah,
it's
so
random.
Yeah,
because it's one of those artists that is I don't know really how to describe him other than not mainstream.
Not mainstream.
He's a British artist that's you know, I don't want to even call him like C League or whatever, but his music is magical and transcendent. I freaking love it. And Dial M for Monkey is one of my favorite albums that he ever put out. It's one of his, I think, first or early albums from like the early 2000s. That's when I heard it. And I remember hearing the music going, what is this? Like, it was so cool, like samples and synths and live music and musicians. And it just, I was on board. And you're totally right. Like, none of his albums, any of them, have ever like felt like garbage. They're all great.
I mean, okay, well, it's happy and sad at the same time. It's like mellow and uplifting at the same time. I mean, you guys have seen him live. It's not some dude that's just like playing some sound. There's real musicians playing all those sounds. They have, the singer is always different. I mean, they'll have, I think Erykah Badu sang one song on one of the albums, and like, it's just like, you just got to go listen to him. Like, I don't know. He
just released a Tiny Desk concert today, NPR, and it's beautiful. Some of his new songs off his new album. It's like a 20-minute live set that he's doing in Nashville. Like, he's rehearsing for his tour. If you haven't seen it yet, Maggie, you got to go check it out. It's great. It's beautiful. And he brings out some of those live performers, those musicians, those singers, and you just go, holy crap, he's getting the most incredible voices on these albums now. And yeah, totally transcendent. Jean-Yves in the chat here says Bonobo is great. I heard of him through Ninja Tunes, which is a record label. I love Amon Tobin and the Herbalizer as well on that label. Yeah, both additional fantastic artists. I had to touch on it, and I wanted to do it during the main show because more we can scream Bonobo from the rooftops and people get on board, the better I feel about it, because he's
Let's
truly...
bring him on.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Especially if he's like, just someday tweets, going for a run today, got to go get my 10K while I'm on tour. I'd be like, shit, we're getting him on. I don't care if he's runs once a week, we're getting him on. Maggie, we appreciate your time so much. I do want to give you the opportunity, of course, to let people know where they can find you and follow you on social media. Or I know you have a camp coming up. Maybe you want to mention the camp before we move into the after show. So Maggie, take it away.
Yeah, I'm doing a camp with Tanawa Adventures. Usually Sally works with them. She's got a lot of things going on. She hooked us up with them. Zach Miller and I are going to be doing a camp in Abiquiu, New Mexico, which is Ghost Ranch, where Georgia O'Keeffe lived and painted. And it's a beautiful area. And it's May 4th through 8th. And if you follow me on Instagram, which is where I mostly post, at Magatron Runs, I'm just posting every few days about camp and information. Registration closes at the end of March. So hit me up with questions if you have any.
Fantastic. That is our wonderful guest, Maggie Guterl. I was going to do it as like this is how I used to pronounce her last name mistakenly. I was just about to say that, and I jumped the gun. It is Maggie Guterl, but I often used it incorrectly for years, and Maggie was so kind. And the last time we had her on, she's like, I just need to let you know that my last name is pronounced Guterl. And I was like, oh my God, it blew my mind. And I felt terrible.
You needed to pronounce correctly.
I also needed to pronounce it correctly because it was just, come on, that's rude of me. So we are so thankful that our guest, Maggie Guterl, joined us on tonight's show. We are going to move right into our after show with Maggie. We have some additional questions from the live show here, and if you have additional questions, you can ask them there. If you would like to join our after show tonight or any of our previous after shows or any of your future after shows, head on over to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. All tiers get access to that perk in addition to some additional perks. We have discount codes for Running Warehouse. We have daily live shows called Daily Brew. We have all sorts of fun stuff, so consider joining the crew. Before we wrap up, though, we do like to recognize members of the community who go above and beyond. We call them our GR crew members of the week. Kim, who is this week's GR crew member?
This week's GR crew member of the week is Jared R. And Jared ran his first 50-miler this past weekend, the Antelope Canyon Ultra. Jared also wrote in saying, had a blast doing it, enjoyed the slot canyons, shale rock cliffs, and desert sand along the way. So congratulations, Jared, on your first 50-miler.
Well done, Jared. Congratulations on being our GR crew member of the week. We appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of the crew. And thank you all for tuning in tonight's episode of Ginger Runner Live 390. We'll see you tomorrow for Daily Brew, or we'll see you next week for more live fun. Thanks all. Get out there, train hard, race harder, and party the hardest. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.